So welcome back to my channel at Maiora. I am Sara, and as promised I am back today with a video about Sylvia Plath. So in my previous video about American literature we talked about her. We talked about Sylvia Plath, her biography, her life, the main features of her works, of her poetry. Today we're going to read together and analyze one of the most famous poems she actually wrote, which is Daddy. It is very, very famous and also representative of both her life, her relationships, and her style, actually. This should be an elegiache poem, because it was written after the death of her father in 1940, when he died because of complication due to his diabetes. We know that her relationship with her father, this professor at university in Boston, was extremely complicated. His father was very strict, very authoritarian. Their relationship was very difficult and very painful, and the death also, as well as the life together with her father, influenced and determined not only her themes and a lot of things she actually wrote and the way she did it, but also her real relationships in life, especially her relationship to her husband. Now, this is, as I said before, it's not a typical elegiac or obituary poem, not at all. It's very unconventional. No pain is actually shown, no grief, but a sort of relief somehow. She describes herself, and I will read you the exact words because she said it. She describes herself as a girl with Electra complex, which says a lot. She obviously refers to Freud's theory about the Oedipus complex. Her father died while she thought he was God. This is very strong. And it is particularly strong if we think that she says this, but at the same time in her poem she describes her father as a Nazi, as a fascist, as a vampire. Very strong imagery. We said in my previous video that main feature of her work is a juxtaposition between a very violent, gloomy, strong, painful imagery on one side, and on the other side a very playful language, okay, full of alliterations, repetition of words, rhymes. It's very naive almost. This is quite strong. This juxtaposition is just as strong. We can say that the work is about her describing her father using different metaphors. They're all very, very painful and emotional. She describes her father as a shoe, a black shoe. She was trapped within, and so obviously she felt oppressed. She couldn't talk, and she felt the desire to kill him, which is a very strong, it's a very strong thing to say, actually. She describes her father, as I said before, as a vampire, as a fascist, as a Nazi, so very strong metaphors. Metaphors are typical of her works, similes too, and the juxtaposition, as I also said before, between two objects, and this juxtaposition emphasizes both of them somehow. She uses a lot a technique called enjambement, or enjambment, if you prefer the English pronunciation, which basically means that the line is cut off just before the natural point, okay? So it basically creates a sort of a cliffhanger, and you just feel that the rhythm is making you read immediately the other part of the stanza or the other part of the poem. So this is just a way to follow her own feelings, her own thoughts, and we are kind of running maybe away from something, or maybe towards something else together with her. Let's start talking about this poem, in which we can find basically three main themes. One theme is obviously her relationship to her father and her relationship to her husband too, which is very similar, and she will explain why. It also talks about freedom and freedom and captivity, both of them, okay, which are basically one of the main aspects of her relationship to her father, and obviously death, life and death, which is quite obviously she's talking about her father's death. Well, let's start reading it together. We can see that obviously here next to me on the screen, so we can actually read it together. You do not do any more, black shoe, in which I have lived like a foot for 30 years, poor and white, barely daring to breathe or chew. Now, she starts here talking to her father directly and saying that he can do anything, he can do nothing more, and she compares him to this black shoe. This black shoe, she was trapped within. This is a symbol, obviously, of oppression. It's a symbol of captivity, and she felt so oppressed that she couldn't even, or better, she couldn't dare, or barely dare, hardly bear to breathe, okay, or to sneeze, chew. You see this very naive interpretation of language, but it means to sneeze. So obviously this is a first representation of oppression, of fear, okay, and the idea, the description she gives of herself is of poor and white, so miserable, completely miserable and scared. There is no idea of loss here, or pain for the loss of her father. On the contrary, there's a sort of a relief, okay, she feels free from something. Daddy, I have had to kill you. You died before I had time. Marble heavy, a bag full of God, ghastly statue with one grey toe big as a Frisco seal, and a head in the freakish Atlantic where it pours bean green over blue in the waters of the beautiful Nosat. I used to pray to recover you. Ah, do. Now, I read the two stanzas together because they are linked by an enjambement, and so it would make no sense to stop, okay, because the sentence would be just incomplete, so we have to read them together. The first thing she says is very, very strong. I have had to kill you. I should have killed you. I didn't, but I should have. And why? I didn't. Why? I didn't because you died before I had the time to do that. So there is no regret here, there is no sorrow, there is no guilt, okay? She just didn't have time to do that. This is an image we can find also in other authors. Think about Virginia Woolf, for example, another very tormented intellectual writer with a very strong, tormented personality. Very sad over her life, and she said, I had to kill the angel in the house. So she's talking here about a sort of a ghost, a stereotype that was on her shoulder. Obviously it's a metaphor, and the stereotype was the stereotype of the woman of the time, the angel in the house that had no rights, no right to talk, no right to write something, no right to be independent, to be strong. And so she had to kill this angel in the house, so to kill this stereotype. So in that case, there was a strong image, but there was just a figurative image, okay? There was just a metaphor, okay? She had to kill a stereotype, she had to kill an idea. Now she's talking about killing a person, of her own father. This is so much stronger. This is something that we don't very commonly find in literature. And then there is a description of the father as a big, huge statue, okay, marble heavy, so incredibly heavy, and so a statue obviously has no feelings. It is completely cold and huge, okay, a bag full of God. So the comparison between father and God makes us understand that her idea of God was extremely negative. Okay, because her idea of father was extremely negative, so strict, authoritarian, the idea of punishment. Now, this ghastly statue, okay, and just one toe was as big as a Frisco seal. She's referring to the sea lion in San Francisco here. And just one toe was so huge, and so the whole statue was completely overbearing. It was absolutely immobile, it was cold, no feelings, was creepy. And then the image she uses in the next stanza about the Atlantic scenario and the beautiful nose, that they're beautiful scenes actually, but she uses an adjective which is freakish. Makes us understand that even if they appeared as something beautiful, and so her father could actually be considered probably as a good human being from the outside, but she knew there was something wrong inside, okay? She understood there was something bad inside. That is why she uses this adjective, freakish. And then she said something which seems completely opposed to what she said before. I used to pray to recover you. So, at the very beginning she said that she should have killed him and she wanted to kill him, and now she says that she wanted to recover him, to pray to recover him. This is quite strange. This is the idea of this multifaceted relationship, which isn't as simple as it could be from outside, because hatred most of the times is also connected with other feelings. She feels that she probably depends on him somehow. It's love where we don't know whether it is love, but anyway, this is a very strong relationship. Ach du. This is German, okay? He taught German at university in Boston because he came from a city in Poland, a Polish city, where they actually spoke German. So she's referring to him in German now. Ach du, oh you, oh you. So I wanted to kill you, and finally I had to pray for you to recover. Oh you, what have you done to me? In the German tongue, in the Polish town, scraped flat by the roll of wars, wars, wars. But the name of the town is common. My Polish friend says there are a dozen or two, so I never could tell where you put your foot, your root. I never could talk to you, the tongue stuck in my jaw. So she's referring now to the root, the origins of her father, the German tongue, okay, Ach du was German, as I said before, in this Polish town that was unfortunately destroyed by wars. You see how the repetitive use of words, it makes the whole sound quite childish somehow, okay? But the name of the town is common, so there are many towns with the same name. She doesn't know which exact town she's talking about. My Polish friend says there are a dozen or two. Okay, so it could be any of them. So I never could tell where you put your foot, your root, so she never know where her father was from exactly, where his roots were. Again, foot, root, the alliteration here. I never could talk to you, the tongue stuck in my jaw. So again, she couldn't breathe, she couldn't sneeze. You remember now she can't talk, okay? The tongue is stuck because of her fear, obviously. It's stuck in a barbed wire snare. Ich. I could hardly speak. I thought every German was you. And the language obscene, an engine, chuffing me off like a Jew to Dachau, Auschwitz, Belsen. I began to talk like a Jew. I think I may well be a Jew. Now, here again we have the repetition of the word ich, which is I in German, and the repetition of it is a sort of, the way she perceives herself through the eyes of her father, through the language of her father, okay? Because her father is as any other German for her, basically, in her opinion, from her perspective, and every German is a Nazi from her perspective. And so, obviously, also the language is very negative, and the imagery here is absolutely negative, and he feels like a Jew on the train, basically, the train that goes to a concentration camp. So we have Dachau, Auschwitz, very, very, terrible images of the war. She's talking about the Holocaust. Okay, and she feels as if she was basically deported to a concentration camp. She felt like a Jew, and feeling like that, she started to be a Jew. Okay, she might be a Jew. She perceived herself as a Jew. She perceived herself through her father's eyes. Ich, in German. Okay, a victim of the Holocaust, a victim of the Nazis. The snows of the Tyrol, the clear beer of Vienna, are not very pure or true. With my gypsy ancestress and my weird luck and my tarot pack I may be a bit of a Jew. She really feels like a Jew, like a victim. Like a deported victim, any kind of victim of the Holocaust. And she uses the colors here again. We find black and a lot of black colors throughout all the poem here. Black is obviously associated with her father, negativity, obviously fear, but also with dictatorship, Nazis, and fascism as well. So now she uses the snows of the Tyrol, the clear beer of Vienna, so white. White should be a positive thing, should be a synonym of purity. No, she says, it means no purity, no truth, because white was the symbol of the pure race, of the Aryan race, okay, and the completely crazy idea of Nazis, Hitler's stuff, etc. So none of this is positive. All of it is a lie, and we are all victims. Okay, and she goes back to her heritage. Okay, my gypsy ancestress, my weird luck, and she repeats words again as she did for war. My tarot pack. Okay, and she feels part of all the she feels as a victim, okay, of any victim of a dictatorship. I've always been sacred of you, with your Luftwaffe, your gobbledygoo, and your neat moustache, and your Aryan eye, bright blue, Panzerman, oh you. Now, she continues to associate the father with images from German at the time. So the Luftwaffe is the Air Force, and gobbledygoo doesn't really exist. It's a gibberish. It doesn't exist. It's a word she uses to say that there was no communication, that what her father said had no meaning for her. Okay, there's a complete gap in communication, and what he said was nothing to her. And the whole description of him and Aryan eye, bright blue, the whole description is connected to the idea of the Aryan stereotype, so Hitler's stereotype of the purity, of the pure race. Panzer man, so obviously, again, as in the statue image, the father is something strong and aggressive. Oh, you. This is a synonym of ach du, but it is in English now. Not God, but a swastika, so black no sky could squeak through. Every woman adores a fascist. The boot in the face, the brute heart of a brute like you. Now, again, there is a comparison between Father and God, and the sky is God. Obviously, is seen from a negative point of view here, and he is kind of hidden by a huge swastika that covers the sky. So dictatorship and violence covers everything right now. And now there are three lines which are very, very, very important. They are obviously sarcastic, but at the same time they tell us something we will find later about women, about herself actually. She said that every woman adores a fascist, so every woman wants a violent man and wants to receive that violence, probably. The boot in the face, okay, the kick in the face, the brutal, violent, the bad, the evil heart of a brute like you, my father, obviously. So it is sarcastic on one side, but on the other side she is also telling us that there are some sick patterns of relationships that can be created. We'll know about that later. You stand at the blackboard, Daddy. In the picture I have of you, a cleft in your chin instead of your foot, but no less a devil for that. No, not any less the black man who beat my pretty red heart in two. I was 10 when they buried you. At 20 I tried to die and get back to you. I thought even the bones would do. Again, I read the two stanzas together because of the enjambment, so they are connected. In the picture she has of her father, he's a teacher with a blackboard behind him, and there's a cleft in his chin, and she compares that shape to the shape of the feet, of the devil's feet, okay, which are similar to goat's feet. Now, and she says, okay, you have the cleft in your chin instead of your foot, but it doesn't make you any less a devil, because you are a devil. Okay, you who split, who divided, who cracked my heart, my young heart into two. I was 10 when you died. At 20 I was mourning you, and I was bound to get back to you. I tried to die, to kill myself, to commit suicide. But somehow that was a sort of a compulsion due to the fact that I had to come back to you, and probably just my corpse, okay, could be buried next to you. So here is a description of how dependent she was on him, okay, so how strong the relationship was anywhere. She hated him, she knew she had to kill him to be free, to be independent, but at the same time she couldn't get out of this relationship, she couldn't get out of the perception of herself that she had through him, and for some reason she tried even to die in order to go back to him, or to put her bones next to his. But they pulled me out of the sack, and they stuck me together with glue. And then I knew what to do. I made a model of you, a man in black with a Mein Kampf look, and a love of the rack and the screw. And I said, I do. So Daddy, I'm finally through. The black telephone's off at the root. The voices just can't warm through. Now, she goes on saying that she tried to die, but she couldn't, and they kind of put her together again. She healed, she recovered. They stuck her together with glue, so they patched her together. And so she had a revelation. She had this sort of an epiphany, okay, a revelation. She understood what she had to do to get over her father. The only way to get over her father was to make a model of him. So to go straight, okay, to him and take his image and try to reproduce this image. And she did it, trying to find a man that was exactly like her father. Okay, so she found actually a man, she looked for a man in black, so again, fascism, or with a Mein Kampf look. Mein Kampf, there should be two words actually, Mein Kampf with capital letter, key, which means my battle, and it's the book that Hitler used to talk about his theories, his crazy theories about the Aryan race and the battle against Jewish people. And it was a horrible book he used for propaganda. So with the Mein Kampf look, it means with a Nazi look. This is terrible, a terrible image. She looked for that kind of man, a man who loved and enjoyed torture, okay, a love for the rack and the screw. He enjoyed violence and torture. And I said, I do. So she was ready for him, and she kind of accepted him. She gave herself to him. So Daddy, I'm finally through. While doing this, she could kind of get over him, get over her father. So now the communication, the dependency, okay, is broken, because the relationship is expressed with another metaphor, which is a phone call, basically. And she hung up, okay, she interrupted this communication, and so there is no way for her father to make her hear his voice, okay. The voices just can't warm through. So this is also a very, well, the choice of the word here is warm through, so sneak into her own mind. It is impossible because she closed the communication. It was kind of cathartic, okay? She elaborated the image of her father while finding a man that was as bad as him, as violent as him, as black as him. If I've killed one man, I've killed two. The vampire who said he was you and drank my blood for a year, 7 years if you want to know. Daddy, you can lie back now. So she said, if I killed one man, her father, I can kill two. Obviously she didn't kill her father, she didn't kill her husband too, but it was a metaphor. So if I could get over you, then I can get over my husband too, okay. That husband that is like a vampire who said it was you, so comparison, father and husband are, well, the same person now, and they're vampire. Critics don't know exactly why she said that this vampire drank her blood for a year and then 7 years. It is not so clear. It's not been explained. There are theories, but nothing clear. But anyway, she says, Daddy, you can lie back down, so you can be put to rest now, because there's a stake in your fat black heart. And the villagers never liked you. They're dancing and stamping on you. They always knew it was you. Daddy, Daddy, you bastard, I'm through. Now, you can be dead and stay dead, because now there's a stake. Okay, you know that for killing a vampire, okay, legend says you have to put a stake through his heart. And there's a stake in your fat black heart. The heart is black, violent, negative, bad, it is fat. Okay, so it is greedy somehow. He kind of ate her up. And there is a sort of a new social stigma here, because she extends her opinion to the villagers, that the villagers never liked you, so they're kind of dancing on your grave. Okay, we're all happy that you are dead because there was something wrong in you. They always knew it was you. There was something bad, something wrong in you. Daddy, daddy, you bastard, I'm through. So I am over it. I'm over it now. Now, she definitely drowned and left us this incredible witness of her life. And we can stay here and talk about the techniques she used and figures of speech and the language and the juxtaposition of her the images she used, so strong and disturbing, and on the other side this language so naive and so almost childlike. So we can do all of that, but what we maybe, this is obviously my opinion, we should actually remember is the most important aspect of her work. And it is the emotional impact and the way art is often used as a strong, as a cruel, as a true representation of life, of feelings, of sometimes illnesses, of any kind of personal issues. And so art is also a way to get into the darkest side of the human life, the human spirit, the human psychology, and to understand more of that, and sometimes to feel less alone. And it is a great way to communicate. And artists like Sylvia, who dared to be naked in front of her public, left a great legacy and gave us a gift we should cherish and respect. Thank you so very much for following me, and I hoped this video was interesting. If you found that interesting, please leave me a like or subscribe my channel, and we will meet again very, very soon, also with the English literature. Thank you again, and bye.